Contractors' Secret Weapon weekly podcast with your hosts, Dave Negri. This program is dedicated to helping contractors, remodelers, painters, roofers, roof cleaners, and business owners in the construction industry gain an unfair advantage over the competition. This program supplies you with information that the competition doesn't even know exists. This session brought to you by ContractorsSecretWeapon.com.
Hey, this is Dave with Contractors' Secret Weapon, and today I want to thank you for stopping by and listening to the podcast and being a loyal listener. If you're the first time listener, well, welcome. This week is kind of crazy. I've just been driving around a lot and thinking a lot, and that's really when I get my best thinking ideas is when I'm in the car. Of course, it's better than the shower because there's really nothing to write down. So I do get my best thoughts while driving. This week, I want to talk about disruptive marketing. So I've been thinking a lot about disruptive marketing, and it's been on my head, and what is it? And I decided to leave that with you this week. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about what disruptive marketing is, and are you using it, and can you use it and have it become effective? So I looked up the definition, and I'm going to read it to you, and I really had nothing to do with my thought process, but here's the definition that I got. We've reached a certain convergence with everyday people, have control over media, content, conversations, decision-making, journey on, and it's blah, blah, blah. But basically, what I came up with was that anything goes. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about. I really wanted to think about marketing, the way it's done, and does it disrupt your thinking or your thought process? So that's really what I want to talk about. Because when I started, I looked at all these definitions. I'm going, none of these are going to work for me. So it was anything goes. So I'm making up my own definition, but really that's not true either. So let's just take a look at the word disrupt, and then go from there and see how it's used in marketing. And is it as effective as it could be? Is it effective at all? And in some cases, yes, some cases, no. And really a lot of it has to depend on the use of it, the industry, and as we go through, you'll probably understand a little bit more. So are we trying too hard, or should we be looking for a better way to get our potential clients to raise their hands? And of course, the definition from the word disrupt is to interrupt or to impede the progress of, and mainly in this scenario, is your thought process. So I know this is an experiment in thought and our thought process today. So I personally believe when we go into marketing and talk about marketing that everything works, some better than others. And as a business owner, we continually need to test and measure to find out what's working, what's not working, and sometimes we need to tweak it a little to make it work better. So the cost of your marketing and human nature says, I don't want to spend any more money than I have to. And now that's human nature. First, let's talk about the word spend. In itself is really a bad word. And what we need to do is replace that with the word invest in my business. So yes, ultimately, we want to get the best bang for our marketing buck, and that may look a lot different than you think. It's not always the cost of the lead that makes the transaction better. Example, sometimes inexpensive leads creates more leads to follow up with, more estimates to do, and fewer closed transactions. Then on the other hand, a higher cost for a lead brings you a more qualified client, one who spends more money, and who ultimately you'll make a higher profit. And now that takes fewer leads to close the sale. So from that scenario that I just talked about, which lead is the more expensive lead? Well, if you're following the thought process, the cheaper lead is the more expensive lead. So are you investing your money wisely? And that's why I always talk about testing and measuring to see if you're getting the biggest bang for your buck. So here's an extreme example in investing in a marketing piece. A builder places an ad in a particular magazine local to his area, and it costs him $10,000. Well, that just took me out of the market, but it cost him $10,000. His return on his investment was a $1.5 million client. So he knew his market. So he didn't take the chance because he knew his market. So let's talk about some of the big areas where we find disruptive marketing. And let's first take a look at the television and television advertising. And not many of us will ever use television or television advertising, but it's a great way to explain what disruptive thought process and disruptive marketing really is. So TV ads disrupt your thought process. You know, you're in a deep thought, or you're following the plot of a program, and then bam, a commercial comes on in hopes to grab your attention. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And with me, most of the time, my brain gets all fuzzy and I don't see anything. Then the program comes on and I pick back up where I left off. So if you're like me, that's what happens to you. Seems like that my mind does go blank. So the only time commercials and TV commercials are not disruptive, I'll bet you could guess, is at Super Bowl time. Because everyone looks for those commercials. But that's one time a year. And of course, because of the convergence, it makes it more costly, let's put it that way. Now the welcome advertisement, which is the Sunday paper. The day of the week, which most advertisements, and at least as I remember, I haven't bought a paper a long time, in many years, but every time I walk by, the grocery store on Sunday and I look down at the papers, there's this huge, huge paper, and so that's the day of advertising. Beneficial to only a few advertisers, like car dealers, furniture stores, with sales, clothing stores. Even it's the day where the classifieds are just boom, because they know that that's the day to put an ad in the paper. But so that's not a disruptive ad on Sunday. However, it might be on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday when you're reading the newspaper, and all of a sudden you've running down a column and something catches your eye and you look at the ad there. That is disruptive. However, for most of us, at least for me anyways, the most irritating place is for disruptive marketing is when I click on a news ad article on the net, and there's the article, and then there's a paragraph, and then there's an ad, and then there's a paragraph, and then there's an ad, and then there's a paragraph, and then there's an ad. And if, or you get those pop-up ads where it's just a real pain in the butt. So that's disrupting, and that's a pain all the time. And if it's, at least it is for me. You answer that question for you. Now let's take a look at some different venues or types of marketing, that a lot of people are gravitating toward in the service industries. And that's what we talk about mostly, is the service industry. And let's break them down and see if they disrupt your thought process. You as a marketer spending your money where that person or company will do business with. Are they looking to buy now? So the disruptive. So are they looking to buy now? That's the customer you want. But are you being disruptive? So for the service industry, let's take the relatively new kid on the block that many of us are using, and that's Facebook and Facebook advertising. I see a lot of people gravitating towards this medium. And can it be a good marketing platform? Absolutely. Does it disrupt your thought process? Absolutely, if not done correctly. There is a key to marketing effectively, even on Facebook. For the most part, social media is about being social. Let me repeat that. Social media is about being social. So how can you turn your marketing piece into something social and get people to want to socially interact with you or your ad? This, is really the key as I see it. The great marketers, they figured out, and they're making tons of money. What they figured out is how to get you to want to learn more. They suck you into their story so that you get engaged and you want to know more. So this is, if you're in the service industry, this is what you need to figure out how to do. How to socially interact, how to suck them into the story and get them engaged and to want to know what you're doing. Because most of the great marketers are promoting on how to make money in some form or shape, or how to get a bigger list, or how to do webinars so that you can make more money. So, of course, I'm going to repeat myself again. The most part of social media is about being social. So your marketing piece needs to get them socially active and involved into your piece so that you can suck them into it and they'll want to find out more. And that's really the key. So from what I'm seeing and what I've seen a lot in the service industry, because I follow a lot of groups and stuff like that, is that many are trying to get their customers by showing before and after pictures, basically showing themselves off in their services. So what they've gone from, and it's really a pet peeve of mine, is they've gone from creating a flyer to creating a flyer online. Nothing engaging whatsoever. So think about how the customer, how the service that you offer can be beneficial to their lifestyle. So let's go back to the top. For the most part, social media is about being social and getting them involved through socially. So you make your marketing piece into something social and get people to want to socially interact with your ad. So it's not bam, hitting them in the face. All business, and we've always talked about this, is about establishing relationships. And so a report to show how you can do this with a social media ad. You get them to your ad, you give them a free report, or you give them, I hate the word discount. Coupon. Doesn't have to be a discount. Get them to raise their hand, and you get them into your funnel. You get them to raise their hand to see if they want a free report or an estimate with a free report with a follow-up sequence that sucks them into your follow-up sequence so that you can keep in touch with them. Let me explain the facts about marketing when you send out or create a marketing piece. If you mail it out, put it on social media, only 3% of the people in any marketplace are ready to buy now. And everyone goes after that 3%, which is honorable. Go after all the business you can. But I call this transactional business with no thought for the future. So let me ask you this. You've got a list of people, you've got a group of people that have raised their hand, you've done estimates, or you're about to do estimates, proposals, you put them into your funnel, or you don't put them in your funnel, and that's it. What do you do with those people that have raised their hand, that have responded to your marketing? They're going to buy. We know they're going to buy. Statistics say they're going to buy within the next 9 to 18 months, and whatever it is. And so, what do? Do you throw them away in hopes that they end up back in your pot of prospects that you've already paid for, and you're going to pay for them again? So, if you take them out of your pot of prospects and you continue to touch them, however you want to do it, as long as you touch them, keep them in your funnel, keep them engaged, then they're not gonna keep clicking on someone else's ad. They're gonna remember who you are. So why should you pay for them 2 or 3 times? You've already paid for them once. So are you throwing those people away? If you are, then I'm just going to say it. Don't complain about not making any money because you're throwing money away. You need to streamline your process so that you get the biggest bang for your marketing dollar. Smart Money says continue to touch those people that have raised their hand so they don't forget who you are when they are ready to buy. So let me say that again. That you don't want them to forget who you are so that when they are ready, they buy from you and not from some yahoos trying to steal your business who just put out a marketing piece and they raise their hand and they're ready now. You want to keep in touch with them until they are ready. Or until they say, don't ever call me again, or don't ever touch base with me again. Don't ever send me another postcard. Don't ever send me another email. That's the time to stop. So I think I hit that one pretty good. Postcards. Postcards are disruptive. They come to your house and you may or may not look at them. However, if the postcard does not have a compelling offer, or information on it, a call to action with a deadline on it, then you're just throwing money away. You've just created a flyer in a smaller size that people can look at it going over the garbage pail. If it's going to be disruptive as a postcard, it needs to be big. And 4x6 doesn't cut it. A lot of times it gets lost. Here's and most people do 4x6s. Again, let's go back to it's cheaper. I want to get more postcards out for less money. But let me tell you a statistic. A 5x8 postcard with the same compelling message on a 4x6 postcard will get a 20% better response rate. That's right, a 20% better response rate than the same content on a smaller postcard. So what would happen if you sent out a bigger postcard than a 5x8? Don't know. I would imagine that you might get a little bit better. So, and I'm a firm believer. I don't like pretty. That's just my mindset. I don't like pretty postcards. It should be bold. And personally, and this is just my thought process. Ugly, plain, because everyone else is trying to be pretty. I would even say that honestly, if you took black and white and went back in reverse, everyone's doing color, 4-page color, and all this other stuff. That if you went back to a grayscale and dark black and maybe a little red in it, you'd probably get a good response. Of course, I like bright yellows and bright greens, so I'll use those in my stuff. But my goal is not to be pretty. My goal is to be memorable. Remember that. Memorable. Remember, any mailing piece that's going out, doesn't matter what it is, it needs to have a compelling offer. It needs to have an end date with a deadline, and it needs to be memorable. And here's another one that I'm really a big proponent on, and I could probably do a whole seminar on this, and we may someday. I'm a big proponent of lumpy mail. And this is really one of my favorite reasons, because lumpy mail gets opened. That's a mail piece with something in it, and pen, or it could be something else where they feel it. And it doesn't really cost that much more to send it, but here's the key. When you send out a marketing piece, you want it opened. That's the whole key. So it can be an ugly envelope. It can be, listen, I've used paper bags as envelopes. Do they get opened? You better believe they do. And this is the way lumpy mail needs to be done. It needs to be a sequences of 3s or 4s. 3s are good. 4s are much better. But each time, then you can mail the same message in each delivery unit, whether it be an envelope, whether it be a box, it could be anything. It really doesn't matter. I've even seen people deliver watermelons, which is kind of weird. But it needs to be done in 3s. It needs to be done in 3s. The first one goes out. The second one needs to be delivered 8 days from the first one. Then the third mailing needs to be out no later than 10 days from the second. Why? Because a lot of times the first mailing, nobody opens. The second one, you'll probably get a 17 to 25% open rate and a response rate. And the third one goes up from there. It could be up to 30% on your open rate. So don't stop at 1. It is actually better. And it depends on where your business is and how much business you can handle. But if you're mailing out 10,000 postcards, I would rather see you mail out 1,000 postcards or 1,000 pieces of mail to one area, own that area, then move on to the next area. Own that area, then move on to the next area. So that you do it in 3s. And guaranteed that you will get a better open rate, better response rate on the 3 mailings than you ever will on one single postcard every 90 days. And because this is why I like it. It increases your response rate, and it's great for targeting a farm area. And your farm area, it could be a subdivision. It could be a type of customers like doctors who live in a 5-mile area, or they could be single moms. It could be business owners who live in $500,000 plus homes. This is what a target is. And I really like this personally. I really like this type of market. And again, it's one of my favorite forms because I get to pick exactly where I want my business to grow. I don't go chasing business. I only want to work within 5 miles from my house, and that's where I target. And I keep the ones who raise their hands engaged all the time. Because I don't chase jobs. I always try to strategically plan my work. And let's face it, I live in an area, and you may have to widen your farm area or your targeted area. That I live in an area where I could just target 5,000 people and be busy for a real long time, and then move on to the next 5,000. And this one is it's disruptive, but it's not really disruptive once they open their the envelope or the package, however you want to do it. And so yes, by doing a 3-step mailing, you are spending a little more, but you're putting it in an area where you know who the homeowners are, how much the houses are worth, the type of incomes they have, and to me, that's a no-brainer. It's better than, for me, it's better than Facebook ads, even though that you can target a better area or an area, not a better area, but you can still target an area. You can target homeowners, income household, but that's just me. There are those. Okay, now we've got another one that's really interesting that maybe some of you guys have done, maybe some of you have not. Is that those homeowner magazines that have coupons in them from plumbers, roofers, painters, concrete guys, pool guys. Did I say roofers, and all kinds of other businesses? And they have coupons in them, or discount coupons, or $500 off, or da-da-da. And so those home magazines that come out, and you can target areas in your neighborhood or your service area in those, but again, you're competing with coupons to get your homeowner's attention. So here's an interesting thing. If you're looking to purchase a home product or service, you will open the magazine. So not everyone is going to open the magazine. I open up everything because I like to see what looks good, what doesn't look good, and 98% is failing. And everyone gives you discounts to grab your attention. To compete in these magazines, do you have to give a discount to compete? No, you don't. And this is what I would really call disruptive. You would really be disruptive person. Their thought process when you make them compare apples to oranges. It totally screws people up. So how do you compare? And you make them put a square peg in a round hole. And you're saying, well, what's this guy doing to me? You're really getting me all screwed up. So actually, I'm just trying to mess with your potential client's mind and your mind too. Because I want you to think beyond price. I want you to make your customer think beyond price. If you want to offer something, offer a free report. Like I've got a couple of them, like 10 things to ask your painter before you ever let them on your property, or 10 things to ask a contractor before you ever let them get your free report. Now this is one that I've always wanted to offer to a dedicated number. So if any of you guys ever do this, let me know. I'm not really trying to grow my business that much more, so I'm not going to do it. But here's what I would do. If I were going to put an ad in one of those magazines, I would put in a nice size ad, maybe a quarter page, and I would put free report. The truth about discounts and why we don't use them to get business. How many calls do you think you'd get? Especially if they were looking for your service. And why wouldn't you give discounts? Because basically you're going to tell them, say, listen, we don't give discounts because we're not going to raise the price by $500 and then say, hey, we're going to give you a $500 discount. Well, you think that's stealing from you? Wouldn't you rather do business with someone who's not going to steal it from you from the onset? That's just some thoughts. And that's what I would do. And try it. So if you do it, let me know how it works. I know it'll work for you. And email me. I'll tell you where you can get some inexpensive lines. So there's Craigslist. You want to promote your business on Craigslist? I've never done it. And the reason I've never done it is because I've only heard horror stories by people who have. And maybe you can work with people who are always looking for the cheapest prices and discounts. I can't. Or I won't. So if you follow this podcast, or if you're just coming on board, I'm not into chasing the dollar or chasing business across the galaxy. So there's so much profitable business within 5 miles from my home. Then why am I going to chase it? However, if I get referred to it, that's a different story. I will go. Because I'm not being chased, I'm being asked. That's just me. Okay, so we've talked a lot about disruptive marketing and how you can actually make it work for you. But I believe that the very best type of marketing, from my thought process, one, when you have raving fans as customers, and they refer you to a friend, a family, a member, or a business relationship, and they call you to come out and talk to them about the problem that they have so you can help them solve it. Closing ratio, 80 to 90%. Do we have enough of that business? Absolutely not. Do we need to get more business like that? Absolutely yes. So we need to create systems and referral systems as an integral part of growing our business. I've got someone that I'm working with right now. She has a super program that I just bought for one of my other businesses, and we're putting together a webinar. And once that's up, we'll put it up so that you guys can get a hold of it. And I know. Now here's something. I know that some of you may use Google pay-per-click, and some of you don't. You've heard some good things about it, some bad things about it. But here's the thing about Google pay-per-click. Is that Google is, when they go to Google, they're actually looking for your service. They're looking to buy. So I really guess you could call pay-per-click the new yellow pages. And I've never been a fan, and you all know that. I've never been a fan of Google, and it's not that I'm not anti-Google. I just think that so many times that we have made Google the umbrella of marketing, and actually Google fits under the umbrella. So if you can handle it with multiple marketing platforms, then I think it's great. Because this is the reason. People are being engaged who are looking to buy today. They're looking to get a proposal today. So if you're still paying for marketing, then they're actually looking to buy. And no matter, you're getting a 25 to 30% closing rate. So with Google changing, and I'm excited about this, all the time there are some new strategies that are available to most people that they don't use. And why? Because most people don't know about it. So what if you could possibly double your closing rate? What if the people who contacted you would call you directly? Boom. They're looking for a painter, they're looking for a plumber, they're looking for a pressure cleaning or roof cleaning, and they put in Google, your name comes up because you an ad on their phone, and boom, and they call you right away. Now, wouldn't that be cool? Yes, it would. If you say no, you're lying. So basically what you're doing is you're having people chase you instead of you chasing them. I've always loved that idea. So next week, I have a guest coming on that's going to explain a different way to use Google pay-per-click, and so you can use it to your advantage and crush your competition. Because nobody wants to do better than their competition. So make sure that you subscribe to this podcast so you can get it delivered to your phone. And next week, you'll get to meet our guests, which I'm going to have some really fun talking to them. And so make sure you listen next week to the podcast. It will certainly be thought-provoking. And, of course, I just want to let you know that we are in the process of changing some things here at Contractors Secret Weapon World. It looks exciting, and I'll keep you informed as we go along the way. And if you haven't been to our website, contractorsecretweapon.com, and gotten your free secret weapon strategies for getting higher paid clients, go do that. Because we used to sell for $97, and we decided to just give it away for free so that you guys can benefit from it, and we'll get money from you guys some other way. So listen, be profitable, have a great week. Come back next week. And thanks again so much for being part of the podcast family. And see you later.
Thanks for joining us for another weekly episode of the Contractors Secret Weapon podcast with Dave Negri. We would love to hear your comments about this episode, so visit us online at www.contractorsecretweapon.com and let us hear your thoughts. If you are listening via iTunes, please leave us a positive review. The more positive reviews we receive, the more other contractors will benefit from this show. Thank you, and see you next time here on the Contractors Secret Weapon podcast.